What is ism maf'ul? The thing on which an action is done. Right? And what is zarf? The place or the time where or when an action is done. So, ism zarf and ism maf'ul, they have the same structure when it comes to mazid fi. So, khayrun mustaqar. Mustaqar is what? The time or the place to settle. The habitation, residence, abode. So, the abode of the people of Jannah is going to be khayr, is going to be better. Better than the abode of the people of hellfire. Better than the abode that they had in dunya. You understand? Khayrun mustaqar. They're going to have a better home, a better abode, compared to what they had in dunya, compared to what other people have on that day. Khayrun mustaqar. Wa ahsanu maqila. And better resting place. Compared to who? Compared to the resting place of the people of hellfire. Or compared to the resting place that people had in dunya. Now what does maqil mean? Maqil is from the root letters qaf ya lam. The main word is qaylula. And qaylula is what? The afternoon nap. And maqil, what's the structure? Root letters are qaf ya lam. Maf'il. It's actually maqyil. And that turns into maqil. Okay? So maqil is what then? Maf'il. What kind of a noun is it? Maf'il. Now as you go to mazid fi, don't forget what you've learned previously. Maf'il. What is maf'il? What is maf'il? Mashriq, maghrib. Zarf. Be confident. So maqil is what? The place or the time of rest. Taking a nap. Afternoon nap. So ahsanu maqila, meaning Jannah is the best place to rest in. It is the best place to nap in. Ahsanu maqila. The most beautiful nap that a person has ever had, where will that be? In Jannah. The most beautiful rest, the perfect rest that a person has ever had, where will that be? In Jannah. Because in dunya what happens? You try to take a nap. You're so tired. Because qaylula is actually like an afternoon nap which should not be more than 30 minutes. It's not a 2-hour long nap. What happens in this dunya? You're exhausted, you're tired, you lie down for half an hour, you end up sleeping for an hour and a half. As you wake up, your head is hurting, you're feeling sick. You have a list of things that you have to do in your head, and that makes you so worried. So that rest turns into causing a lot of problems. Isn't it so? But when a person will nap in Jannah, when a person will take rest in Jannah, that will be the best rest that he will ever take. Now if you think about it, when do you need to take rest? When you're tired. So does it mean that people will get tired in Jannah? No. Then why will they have to take rest? Why will they have to take this afternoon nap? 2 reasons are given. First of all, this maqil, it refers to that the time when people will enter Jannah is going to be the time of the afternoon. And as they enter, the first thing they will do is take a nap. Because obviously they have gone through the long day of the Day of Judgment. Resurrection, hisab, seeing so many things, witnessing so many things. It's a long journey. And then going over the bridge, seeing the hellfire, seeing people fall into hellfire. It's an exhausting day, an exhausting journey. So as the people will reach Jannah, it will be the time of midday. And that is when they will take rest. And that rest is going to be the best rest. We learned that the Prophet ﷺ said that I declare on oath by Allah, in whose hand is my life, that the long, horrible day of resurrection will be made very short and light for a believer. As short and light as the time taken in offering an obligatory prayer. So this is the state of good believers. But there are people who are going to end up suffering on the bridge. Isn't it so? Like we have learned earlier, that as the people will be crossing the bridge, there will be thorns and there will be hooks that will injure the people, depending on the crimes that they have committed. So for some people, the length of the Day of Judgment, the entire Day of Judgment is going to be very, very light. Just like one fard prayer. But for others, it's going to be difficult. And the length of the Day of Judgment is 50,000 years. And whenever we learn that Allah is Sari'ul Hisab, what do we learn? That He's swift in taking the account, that once the account will begin, it will be over in half a day. So by midday, everything will be done. So when the people will enter Jannah, they will take rest over there. Sa'id ibn Jubayr, he said that Allah will finish the judgment halfway through the day. And the people of paradise will take their midday rest in paradise. And the people of hell, they will take their rest where? In hellfire. So what do we see over here? That وَأَحْسَنُ مَقِيلًا, and most beautiful resting place. That is what Jannah is. So that is one reason that has been given. That as to why people will take rest in Jannah. Secondly, when do you rest? Is it just when you're tired? No. You just like to lie down, you just like to take it easy when you can afford to do that. Isn't it so? When you can afford to do that. So what does it show? That they will rest, they will enjoy, they will relax, there will be no tension, no heat, no work hanging on their heads. It will be a very comfortable rest. Why? Because they can afford to rest. They have done their work in dunya. They worked very, very hard in dunya. So now when they enter Jannah, all they have is rest and rest. وَأَحْسَنُ مَقِيلًا, and a best place to take rest in. In Surah Yasin, ayah 55 to 56, we learn, إِنَّ أَصْحَابَ الْجَنَّةِ الْيَوْمَ فِي شُغْلٍ فَاكِهُونَ هُمْ وَأَزْوَاجُهُمْ فِي ظِلَالٍ عَلَى الْأَرَائِكِ مُتَّكِئُونَ. Indeed, the companions of paradise that day will be amused in joyful occupation. They will be busy enjoying themselves. They and their spouses in shade, reclining on adorned couches. فِي ظِلَالٍ عَلَى الْأَرَائِكِ مُتَّكِئُونَ. So this is the أحسن مقيلة. This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لا يستوي أصحاب النار وأصحاب الجنة. The people of hellfire and the people of Jannah, they're not the same. They will not have the same end. أصحاب الجنة هم الفائزون. The people of Jannah, they are successful. Why? Because this is the end that they will receive. وَيَوْمَ تَشَقَّقُ السَّمَاءُ, and on the day when the heaven will split open. بِالْغَمَامِ, with emerging clouds. When will that be? On the Day of Judgment. That when the sky is going to split asunder because of a cloud. And then what's going to happen? وَنُزِّلَ الْمَلَائِكَةُ تَنْزِيلًا, and the angels will be sent down in successive descent. As the sky is split open, a cloud will appear, and the angels, they will descend down. Now the word tashaqqaqu is from shin qaf qaf, shaq. And what does shaq mean? When something is split apart, when something is ripped apart, it's torn open, rent asunder. And we learn in Surah Al-Inshiqaq, إِذَا السَّمَاءٌ شَقَّتْ, when the sky is going to split asunder. In Surah Al-Haqqah, ayah 15 to 16, we learn فَيَوْمَئِذٍ وَقَعَتِ الْوَاقِعَةِ وَانْشَقَّتِ السَّمَاءُ فَهِيَ يَوْمَئِذٍ وَاهِيَةٌ. And the heaven will split open on that day, and on that day it will be infirm. On that day, the sky that you see so firm, it will become infirm, unstable. In Surah Al-Rahman, ayah 37, we learn, فَإِذَا انشَقَّتِ السَّمَاءُ فَكَانَتْ وَرْدَةً كَالدِّهَانِ. And when the heaven is split open, and it will become rose-colored, like oil. So what do we see? That the sky will not just split open, but rather its color is also going to change. Its color is also going to change. Now, what does it mean by bil ghamami? That the sky will split asunder bil ghamami. Bi, ba, it's harf jar. And what meaning does it have? With. But remember that this small letter ba, it has at least 17 meanings in the Arabic language. At least 17. This is why this ayah has been understood in several ways. First of all, it has been said that ba over here is of sabab. Ba is of sabab. What does that mean? How will you translate that? Because of, due to. Sabab means cause. So, وَيَوْمَ تَشَقَّقُ السَّمَاءُ بِالْغَمَامِ, that the day when the heaven will split open because of a cloud. Meaning the sky will split asunder because of a cloud. A certain cloud will appear, and then the sky will rupture. Then the skies, they will begin to rupture. They will begin to break open after the emerging of a particular cloud. Secondly, ba has been understood as ba of hal. Just as wow is also of hal sometimes. How do we translate that? While. Isn't it so? Sometimes we translate wow as and sometimes we translate it as while. So this wow is haliyya. Similarly, ba also gives a meaning of hal. So what meaning does it give? That the sky will split asunder while it will turn into clouds. You understand? The sky will split asunder while it will become into clouds. As if scattered clouds. Right now, what do we see? A plain sky with no rifts. And as the rifts will appear, as it will crack open, as it will break into pieces, it will seem as though the sky has turned into clouds. And clouds are what? They appear to be like smoke. So Allahu A'lam how it's going to be. Thirdly, ba is also given the meaning of ma'a. What does ma'a mean? With. That the sky is going to split open, and along with the sky, what else is going to split asunder? The clouds. The clouds also will split open. Fourthly, ba has also been given the meaning of an over here. An. Anil ghamami. And what does it mean? That the sky will split and a cloud will come forth. An? What does an mean? From. So, as the sky will split open because of a cloud will come forth. And this is mentioned elsewhere as well. That this cloud, with the cloud will also come who? Angels. We learn in Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah 210, that هَلْ يَنظُرُونَ إِلَّا أَنْ يَأْتِيَهُمُ اللَّهُ فِي ظُلَلٍ مِنَ الْغَمَامِ وَالْمَلَائِكَةُ. That are the people waiting that Allah should come to them in covers of clouds and also the angels. So what do we see? That on the Day of Judgment, what's going to happen? The sky is going to break open. It's going to split apart. Because you see, it's the samawat. It's the 7 heavens above us. And these 7 heavens, this is what prevents us from accessing what is beyond. So these 7 heavens are going to be blown apart. They're going to be broken apart. And as a result, the angels are going to come down, and a particular cloud is also going to come down, and this is the opinion of Qurtubi. So وَيَوْمَ تَشَقَّقُ السَّمَاءُ بِالْغَمَامِ, and this seems more appropriate because it's mentioned elsewhere as well. And along with the splitting of the sky and the coming of the cloud, who else is mentioned? وَنُزِّلَ الْمَلَائِكَةُ تَنْزِيلًا. And the angels, they're going to descend gradually. They're going to descend gradually, one after the other, tanzila. And then the accountability will begin. Then the hisab will begin. I just want you to imagine the scene. Just imagine. That the sky that we see, it seems so peaceful. Isn't it so? It seems so vast, so huge. And the clouds that we see again, they seem to be so peaceful as well. That sometimes they're just drifting away by the wind, so peacefully. And just imagine the color of the sky, the blue changes into red. How horrifying. And this peaceful sky that we see, it's broken up, rifting apart. And just imagine all the sounds that will be coming forth because of that splitting. Just imagine. And then the angels appear. These people want to see the angels. This is when the angels will come. When the accountability is going to begin. And on that day, what's going to happen? Al-mulku yawma'idin al-haqqu lil-Rahman. True sovereignty, that day, is for who? For the most merciful. Al-mulk. What does mulk mean? Authority, power, kingship. So all sovereignty, all power, all authority is going to belong to who on that day? Ar-Rahman, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In Surah Ghafir, ayah 16, we learn, لِمَنِ الْمُلْكُ الْيَوْمِ لِلَّهِ الْوَاحِدِ الْقَهَّارِ. To whom belongs all sovereignty this day? To Allah, the one, the prevailing. We also learn in a hadith that Allah, may He be exalted, He will fold up the heavens in His right hand and will take the earth in His other hand. And He will say, I am the sovereign, I am the judge. Where are the kings of the earth? Where are the tyrants? Where are the arrogant? On that day, all of them will finish. So true sovereignty that day will belong to who? Ar-Rahman. وَكَانَ يَوْمًا. And that day is a day that عَلَى الْكَافِرِينَ عَسِيرًا. It will be difficult. For who? For the disbelievers. It will be extremely difficult for the disbelievers. Asir. Asir is from usr, opposite of yusr. So asir, fa'il, one that is difficult. Why will that day be very difficult for the disbelievers? Because first of all, the length of it is going to cause them great trouble. As I mentioned to you from the hadith, that for the believer, the length of the Day of Judgment is going to be just like one fard salah. There are people who stand up in salah and they cannot wait to finish. They find the length of the salah very, very difficult. Isn't it so? And if you think about it, if you look at the clock, how long does it take to pray? Even 4 rak'ah. Maximum 10 minutes, 8 minutes, 7 minutes. For some people 5 minutes. For some people even less. But as soon as they do Allahu Akbar, they find it so difficult to stand through the salah. Whereas in reality, it's only 4 to 10 minutes. For some people, it's the wudu that prevents them, that it's going to take so long. But how long does it take to make wudu even? It doesn't take too long at all. So, for a believer, the length of the Day of Judgment is going to be just like one fard salah. Why? Because for him, salah, no matter how long it is, it does not feel like a burden. It does not feel like a burden. But for those people who find even salah very long, imagine the length of the Day of Judgment, how long that is going to seem to them. How heavy it will be for them. So, وَكَانَ يَوْمًا عَلَى الْكَافِرِينَ عَسِيرًا. It's going to be very difficult. Its length, its hardships, its fears, the suffering that it will bring, the severities that they will experience, the scenes of the Day of Judgment, the horrifying scenes. Earlier we learned that the hellfire, as it will see the criminals, they will hear its taghayyuz and zafir. So obviously that's going to make that day very traumatizing for them. We learn in Surah Al-Muddathir, ayah 8 to 10, that فَإِذَا نُقِرَ فِي النَّاقُورِ فَذَلِكَ يَوْمَئِذٍ يَوْمٌ عَسِيرٌ عَلَى الْكَافِرِينَ غَيْرُ يَسِيرٌ. And when the trumpet is blown, that day will be a difficult day. For who? For the disbelievers, not easy. In Surah Al-Qamar, ayah 8, we learn مُهْطِعِينَ إِلَى الدَّاعِ يَقُولُ الْكَافِرُونَ هَذَا يَوْمٌ عَسِرٌ. That the people that day will be racing ahead toward the caller. And the disbelievers will say, this is a difficult day. In Surah Al-Muzzammil, ayah 17, we learn, فَكَيْفَ تَتَّقُونَ إِن كَفَرْتُمْ يَوْمًا يَجْعَلُ الْوِلْدَانَ شِيبًا. Then how can you fear, if you disbelieve, a day that will make the children white-haired? Imagine the intensity of that day, that it will cause children, their hair to turn white, to turn gray. So, وَكَانَ يَوْمًا عَلَى الْكَافِرِينَ عَسِيرًا. It will be a very difficult day. We'll listen to the recitation and then we'll continue. And that day will be especially difficult for them. Why? Because the sun will be very, very close. And the people will be drowning in their own sweat. Just imagine. And that will be determined by the amount of sins that they have committed. We have learned that on the day of judgment, the day of Hashr, the time of Hashr, even then the people will be punished because of the crimes that they have committed. Like for example, if a person has not given zakat, if a person has stolen the property of others, if a person has stolen from public wealth, public treasury, that wealth will cause him great punishment on that day. How? That the money will be in the form of a snake tied around his neck, biting on his face. I am your wealth, I am your wealth. And the wealth that he stole, he will have to carry it on his back. And the deeds that he brought, the good deeds he brought, other people will be claiming them because of the injustices that he committed against them. People who are very arrogant, they will be resurrected in the form of ants, like as small as ants. And imagine being trampled over by others. وَكَانَ يَوْمًا عَلَى الْكَافِرِينَ عَسِيرًا. It's an especially difficult day. Very difficult day. And a person must strive in order to save himself from the difficulties of that day. Just imagine, if people are ever traveling somewhere, and they're told that this is a difficult journey, it's a difficult trip, how much they do to make sure that they have a safe trip, they have an easy trip, they don't experience any difficulties. This is with regards to dunya. The hereafter is something more serious. And we need to be more careful about making sure that that day is not difficult for us. وَكَانَ يَوْمًا عَلَى الْكَافِرِينَ عَسِيرًا. We'll listen to the recitation of these ayat.
وقال الذين لا يرجون لقاءنا لولا أنزل علينا الملائكة أو نرى ربنا لقد استكبروا في أنفسهم وعتوا عتوا كبيرا يوم يرون الملائكة لا بشرى يومئذ للمجرمين يوم يرون الملائكة لا بشرى يومئذ للمجرمين ويقولون حجرا محجورا وقدمنا إلى ما عملوا من عمل فجعلناه هباء منثورا أصحاب الجنة يومئذ خير مستقرا أصحاب الجنة يومئذ خير مستقرا وأحسن مقيلا ويوم تشقق السماء بالغمام ونزل الملائكة تنزيلا الملك يومئذ الحق للرحمن الملك يومئذ الحق للرحمن وكان يوما على الكافرين عسيرا